Now, this brings up another key point, which is that people confuse the map with the territory. People confuse their idea of who they are for who they really are. I hope that I demonstrated a few moments ago that your idea of you is not the same as you. I mean, you may never have thought about this before, but who you are is vast compared to your idea of you. But most people, just without ever really challenging that assumption, go about thinking that my idea of me is who I am. That idea of me is often called your ego. You know, it's just all your ideas about who you are, about what the universe is, what the world is, what other people are, how things are supposed to work. All that stuff is the map.
So, Bill, don't you think that there's the reason for that, though, is because so many of our relationships and even, you know, going to school, making friends, getting a job, all these things really depend on us kind of using the ideas of who we are to our advantage.
Well, I don't want it to sound like I am saying that a map is a negative thing. A map is very handy to have. Without a map, you'd have to rethink. You know, you'd be without a map, you would be spontaneously reacting to everything all the time. Mm-hmm. And even the most enlightened Zen master, although they talk about spontaneity a lot, is not doing that. You know, everybody has tons of generalizations about themselves, about the world, and all that, and that makes life a lot more easy.
So the map is not a problem.
It's not the map that's the problem. It's thinking that it is who you are that's the problem. If you thought that you could go camping on those little triangles on the map of California, you know, you'd be delusional. If you thought that you could go swimming in those little blue things that represent lakes, you know, you obviously can't. You can't drive on, you know, the little picture of Route 66. Those represent something, but they aren't the thing that it represents. So your map represents something too, but it isn't what it represents. And this is the confusion that people have. The phrase, the map is not the territory, came from Count Alfred Korzybski in a book, Beyond Sense and Sanity, which was the beginning of a field called general semantics, and he wrote that book in the 1920s. When people start thinking about enlightenment and that sort of thing, one way to describe enlightenment is a deep down in your bones, visceral knowledge, experience that there is a big difference between your idea of who you are, or your idea of anything for that matter, and the real thing. That's why in Zen, for instance, they are more interested in the actual expression of something than talking about it. If the Zen master says to you, who are you? He doesn't want you to say, well, I'm Bill Harris, and I'm 59, I was born in 1950, and I have this company, and you know, they say, no, that's not what I want. I don't want your ideas about who you are. I want, show me who you really are. Mm-hmm. But they mean, don't show me your map, don't tell me about your map, show me who you really are.
Well, how do you get in touch with that? I mean, you know, I think I know how you might answer that question, but on a very basic level, you know, if I say to you, okay, I can understand that these things are not me. I mean, I have political ideals and spiritual beliefs, and you know, I'm a parent, and you know, all of that.
Yeah, that's all map stuff.
That's all map stuff. So what do I do to get in touch with the part that's not the map stuff, that's the territory?
Well, you know, this is why when they're talking about meditation, well, you know, let's say a guru in India, he might say to you, there's one energy everywhere, everywhen. That energy is aware of itself, it's conscious, and because it's aware of itself, of being everywhere and everywhen, it has nowhere to go, nothing to get, and there's nothing outside of it to be afraid of, and so on. It's blissful, happy. And this one energy that's blissful and happy and aware is who you really are. And you know, the person in the audience says, Well, that sounds real nice, but how come I feel like shit all the time then, if I'm this blissful, one energy of the universe?
It's a good question.
And yeah, and so the guru would say, well, it's because your mind gets in the way of experiencing who you really are. As long as you are so involved with your map of reality, your map of who you are, you will miss who you really are, because you're in other words, enlightenment could be seen as a shift in perspective, so that you're not focusing so much on your map of things. When you stop doing that, what else is there is automatically available to you. It's obvious to you. So, there's a couple of levels of this map of reality stuff. One is the one that I was actually thinking of when I originally wrote this principle, which is the idea that if you confuse your map with reality and your map starts to fall apart, you think you're falling apart. Really, your ideas about you, your ideas about the world, your ideas about other people and so on, that's what's falling apart. And so what if that falls apart? It reorganizes at a higher level, and you get a better version that works better and allows you to navigate the world better. In a more profound sense, it's putting us, in the process of waking up in an Eastern philosophy sort of sense, the first stage is quieting the mind. And one of the things that happens when people use Holosync is their mind is usually pretty busy at first. But after you've used it for a while, the mind does begin to get quieter. And the quieter it gets, the less involved in it you are, the less you are involved in that map, and the more you see the transcendent that's behind the map, the infinite interconnections that make everything into one event/thing instead of a multiplicity of events and things. So when that happens, you begin to have this kind of realization, I am this transcendent. Then what you have to do is just sort of go back and get in touch again with the relative world, the world that, where there is a map and you're using the map to navigate, because it's not a disowning of the map that we're looking for. It's just a realization that it's just a map. So it would be like if you really thought you could drive on those little lines on a road map. That would be the first stage. The second stage was where you realize that is not the reality. That's not where I drive. But sometimes during that process, you throw that map out the window. But the final stage is where you say, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with having the map. It's just that I just need to understand that it's just a map. So, but I think the main point to get, this is sort of something to look forward to as you go through these levels, because you will more and more get to the point where you will not identify so much with your map.